Hi, I'm Brian Sylvester, and welcome to TNM TV News. Here are this week's headlines. China takes a stake in tech, Klondike says no to Silvercorp, Starfield to buy Navarro, and Horizon sees a lot more gold at Casa Berardi. Up first, state-owned China Investment Corp has bought 17.5% of Teck for about $1.7 billion. It marks the first time a Chinese government firm has purchased a large stake in a premier Canadian mining company. Here's Northern Miner staff writer Anthony Vaccaro with more details.
For Teck, it was the Chinese to the rescue. A state-run sovereign wealth fund known as CIC injected $1.7 billion into the company through a private placement. The deal secures CIC a 17% stake in Teck, but only gets it roughly 6% of voting rights due to Teck's dual-class share structure. The move immediately addresses the street's concerns over Teck's balance sheet, as its financials were thrown out of whack by a combination of too much debt and too little cash flows. The too much debt came from a massive acquisition of 40 Canadian coal trusts just before coal prices fell, and that caused cash flows to be crimped. Teck will put the newly raised funds towards its term loan and says that cash generated from its gold asset sales and the sale of its interest in a dam, along with cash flows from operations, will have the debt down to $1 billion by the end of the year. It currently stands at $3.9 billion. Looking out a few years, Teck sees the deal with CIC as a key strategic step towards gaining a larger part of the Chinese coal market. With China needing more high-quality coking coal to feed its ever-growing steel industry, Teck is looking to become a key supplier and believes that an alliance with CIC will help it in its cause. Also of note is the fact that the deal with CIC allows Teck's foremost family, the Kevils, to maintain much of their control over the company, something that the family has fought long and hard to maintain. This is Anthony Vaccaro for the Northern Miner.
Thanks, Anthony. Staying in Western Canada, the board of Klondike's Mines has rejected a hostile all-share bid by Silvercorp Metals. Klondike's board members own about 15% of the shares outstanding and are recommending that Klondike shareholders reject Silvercorp's offer. Silvercorp is offering half a share for every one Klondike share, a 59% premium based on Silvercorp's closing price on the day of the bid. Klondike's financial advisor says the deal is inadequate, citing Silvercorp's historically volatile share price. In other takeover news, Starfield Resources is taking over Junior Navarro in a friendly all-share bid. Starfield is advancing the Ferguson Lake Base Metals and PGMs project in Nunavut, while Navarro has a similar project in Montana. The deal would see one Navarro share exchanged for 0.87 of a Starfield share. That translates to a 64% premium over the average price in the 20 days before the bid in late June. The deal should go through in August. And finally, Northern Miner senior staff writer Trish Saywell recently visited Horizon Mines' Casa Berardi mine. Casa Berardi is the flagship operation of one of the industry's most promising mid-tier producers. She files this report.
Since the first gold pour in December 2006, Horizon Mines' Casa Berardi gold mine in Quebec's Abitibi region has produced a total of 374,996 ounces of gold. Last year, the mine produced 158,830 ounces of gold. This year, the mine is on track to produce between 150,000 and 155,000 ounces of gold at an average grade of 7.9 grams per ton and at a cash cost per ounce of about $390. The junior gold producer is in good financial shape. In the last 2 years, it has trimmed debt from $73 million to $21 million, and today it can gloat about the $100 million in cash it has in its treasury, the $20 million cash flow it posted in the first quarter of the year, and the fact that it has only tapped equity markets once since early 2006. Now management says it's time to turn on the exploration taps at its projects in Quebec, and at the same time look for acquisitions in politically stable jurisdictions. On a recent tour of the Casa Berardi underground mine, David Hall, Horizon's chief executive, admitted that the company had signed some confidentiality agreements and that management was looking broadly at properties in Canada, Mexico, and a couple of states in the U.S. In the meantime, however, there is still a lot of work to be done at Casa Berardi, a deposit that stretches along an east-west mineralized corridor and at one time included two producing mines about 5 kilometers apart. Today, Horizon is only mining the west mine, but is looking into developing an open pit at the former east mine. So far, Horizon has really only explored 1.5 kilometers out of a total lateral strike length of 37 kilometers down to a depth of 1,000 meters and has discovered 2 million ounces of gold. As David Hall says, there's a lot of gas left in the tank. This is Trish Saywell for the Northern Miner in Toronto.
And that's all for this week. Thank you for tuning in.